it's not a secret that Saudi Arabia is a very special country in terms of traditions. It's very patriarchal country and very tribal country. And as you mentioned, by the way, that your husband, he was assigned with some girl, and I know a little bit about this procedure, how actually young people usually meet each other in this country. So it's seldom happens kind of via direct contact, but rather through relatives, mothers usually, and so on and so forth. And therefore my question is, how did your family feel about this, and how did his family feel about this?
Okay, well, you know, my family has always loved my husband. He's a very charming guy, which many Saudi men are. He's got a very good heart, and he has always treated me very, very well. And I think my family saw how happy I was to be with him, even though they also were aware of the fact that after he got his schooling done with, that he would be leaving and going back to his country. But they knew that I was happy with him. The way I looked at it actually was that I saw many of my friends get married. I was in their weddings, standing up for them. And then within two years, 5 years, they were divorced.
Yeah.
So, you know, I looked at it kind of in that way, that maybe it would, you know, we were together longer than many of my friends who were married. So my family was actually very, very happy when we got married. We got married in my mother's home. And his family, I think, well, his mother had come to visit us a few times during those 12 years while he was going to school. And so she had met me. One of his brothers had also come, and I had also met his sister, whose husband was studying to get his PhD also in the US, not in the same place, but she came to visit us. So I knew 2 out of 3 of his siblings. I felt that they liked me. I think that because he was gone for 12 years, getting, you know, studying abroad, and that he couldn't find a job then in his own country after they paid for his schooling for so many years, and then he came back to America and found a job. I think that that probably played a part in how they felt about him finally marrying me, that it was maybe meant to be. I do have to also say that my husband ended up spending 30 years in America with me before we moved to Saudi Arabia. So, you know, 30 years together, that's a long time. And whatever dreams they may have had of my husband marrying some Saudi girl, I think we're gone at that point. And I was welcomed when we moved here. My son was welcomed, and it just worked out. We didn't have, I don't feel, the family pressure that many younger guys do who try to bring their younger wives to Saudi. So I think it was just a different situation. We had already been together for so long, so it just didn't matter at that point, the Saudi customs and the culture. It didn't matter.
But there is another, I would say, kind of sensitive issue that again, as far as I know, I don't have very much experience, particularly in comparison with yours. Okay, in terms of communication with Saudis and in terms of knowledge of Saudi traditions and so on. But what I know, or I think I know, okay, is that actually they are very kind of sensitive to those marriages to not even non-Saudis, but those who are non-Islamic, non-Muslims, okay? And as I understand, you were at that time, at least when you met your husband, you were, I wouldn't say you were Christian, you might not be Christian even, but not Muslim, I suppose. So,
right.
Were you required by his family or by him to convert to Islam?
I was raised as a Christian. I went to Sunday school every Sunday. I babysat in the church also. I was very active in the youth group, and I have my own feelings about religion. So when I met my husband, I would ask him a lot about Islam. My husband is a very good Muslim. He lives his religion. My experience with religious people, not just Muslims, but other people, Christians, whatever religion, my experience is that many of them are insincere about their beliefs and are hypocritical. And this is what I saw time after time after time with people. And I'm not saying that all religious people are this way at all. I'm just saying that I have seen with my own eyes how hypocritical many of them are. So one thing that people don't realize maybe about Islam is that men in Islam, it says right in the Quran that they can marry Muslim women, Christian women, or Jewish women. This is what it says. So it is not against the religion. It's not haram. So I know that for some families, it's much more important for them to marry a Muslim woman. My husband's family, it didn't seem to bother at all. They knew me as a person. They know my heart. And I think that they know that I make my husband happy and he makes me happy. And that's really all that matters. The religion, thankfully, hasn't really been any problem in our relationship. I don't know what else to say. I do know that in other families, there is a much different feeling about it.
So this is why I asked, actually. This is why I asked about this. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, every family is different. My husband has never pressured me to convert to Islam. His family has never pressured me. But I do know that other women do get pressure to convert. And in my eyes, someone who gets pressure to convert to any religion is not really sincere about it. They don't feel it in their heart. And so I'm not in favor of converting my religion just to make someone else happy.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. I fully understand you. But I just wanted to clarify this issue because I do know that, and you actually mentioned in your answer that this is, for some families, it's quite kind of critical, I would say. So and I am happy, and I am very glad for you that it's not the case in your case.
It's been a wonderful relationship with my husband, and he is so good to me. I'm a very lucky woman, and we haven't had issues like other couples have had with religion, with the family, with the culture. So I've been very fortunate. I don't know if that has to do with the fact that I didn't move to Saudi Arabia to face all this until we had been together for 30 years already. Plus I was 55 years old when we moved to Saudi Arabia. I wasn't 25. So my whole experience has been different from many other women who have moved here when they were 18 or 19. I have friends who have lived in Saudi Arabia for 40 plus years. I've been here 11 now. I'm 67. So
you don't look like 67. You don't look like 67.
Oh, thank you so much. I just had my birthday a week ago.
Yeah, I remember. That's why we didn't actually, probably, we didn't talk over Skype on that day as was planned. Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Happy birthday to you, by the way.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so Sюзи, as what I grasped from your explanations, that your husband and his family are, what I can judge, what I can conclude, are kind of not quite usual for Saudis.
I don't know how unusual it is. I don't know what the percentage is. I do know that there are families who travel, whose kids go to school and get their higher degrees in other countries, in other cultures. I think that and this is in any society, the more that the people travel and see other parts of the world, the more accepting they are of differences. So I think that probably has a lot to do with families who are more accepting of a woman marrying their son who's not from their culture. I think that they're just more attuned to the world and more accepting.
Okay. Such very practical, a couple of very practical questions. Those which might sound a little bit weird. So, do you wear niqab?
Do I wear niqab? No.
No.
I do not.
So even if you go outside, you are not required from by your husband or his family to wear niqab, right?
No. As a matter of fact, that the niqab has never been an issue with my family. Although my husband's sister and her daughters, she has 4 grown daughters, they usually do wear niqab, although they're starting to not wear it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
When I first came to Saudi Arabia, I would wear the scarf in front of, when we would go out and in front of his family members who were men.
Mm-hmm.
But over the years, I have slowly been able to, because I'm not comfortable wearing the scarf, it makes me so much hotter. I'm always hot, which is a big problem for me. I have been able to slowly loosen those rules about covering my hair. I don't look Saudi. I will never look Saudi.
Mm-hmm.
So after a few years, like 3 or 4 years, I started wearing the scarf loose around my head instead of wrapping it tightly the way the Saudi women do.
Uh-huh.
And at first, my husband was a little taken aback and said, "Your hair is showing, your bangs are showing." And I said, "So, we see lots of women whose hair is showing when we go out." So he got used to that. Then I started forgetting to put it on my head. I would just have it around my shoulders. So sometimes he would remind me, and other times he would forget altogether, and I would be out with just the scarf around my shoulders, not covering my hair. So I think initially when we moved here, he was paranoid that I was going to get him in trouble, or that I was going to be in trouble by the mutawa, the religious police.
Yes.
And actually, just the opposite has happened, because we have been in places in public, and I've had the scarf around my shoulders, and the mutawa have come by, and one time they talked to him and in Arabic, and they just walked on, and they didn't say anything at all about my hair, because I asked him afterwards what were they talking about. And his family has been fine with it also. He was a little paranoid that they would, think bad things about me if my hair was showing. But the other night we just went out for dinner with one of his nieces and her husband, and I had the scarf around my shoulders, and it was not a problem at all. And I think he's gotten a lot more comfortable with the fact that I'm not going to be bothered, and I'm not causing him any trouble or embarrassment either.
Okay, I see. Okay, you mentioned that you mentioned about your son. So you have joint children, right?
Yes, we have a son. He's now 25 years old.